Frenchie's Art Gallery, located on historic Oak Street beside the Maple Leaf Bar. With over 3,000 square feet of space, it features a large gallery front room and Frenchie's personal art studio. Frenchie's Art Gallery is also connected to the Maple Leaf Courtyard, which is ideal for the New Orleans night scene. Frenchie's Art Gallery, 8314 Oak Street. Yeah, you're right.
Located at 109 Wall Boulevard in Gretna, Uniforms by Logo Express provides school uniforms, medical wear, hospitality wear, safety and industrial wear, and so much more. We offer a number of locations on both sides of the river. 2 in Chantilly, 1 in Woodmere, and our main store located in Gretna. Uniforms by Logo Express. Your brand starts here.
The owners of the Delachaise Wine Bar on St. Charles Avenue have opened up their newest creation uptown on Maple Street called Shea, a new local wine bistro featuring a larger menu of small and large plates, a brighter atmosphere, and full table service. Additionally, patrons can enjoy a large patio out front as well as an extensive wine list offering selections from around the world. It's Chez Delachaise, 7708 Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway.
Here's the bottom line. Well, it's funny that you say that. Let me tell you. Good evening, New Orleans, and welcome to another edition of Primetime Sports. I can't wait to get started, but first and foremost, I hope everyone out there is having a very happy holiday season as Christmas is upon us. Hey, it's been another tough week for sports in the Crescent City. Our New Orleans Saints, the team we love to live and die with, well, we've been dying lately. After scoring 49 points against the LA Rams, looking like on fire just 2 weeks ago, well, they've only scored in the last 2 games less than half of that, 24 points, and they've only gotten 1 touchdown in those 2 weeks, including a 16-11 slugfest loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs defense was all over Drew Brees in this game, and I got to tell you, the Bucs now have won 5 straight games. The Saints are now 5-8. And pretty much out of playoff contention, except mathematically, but don't count on that. Hey, and after losing several games, the New Orleans Pelicans, well, they finally tasted victory in a close game as they won a game in overtime against Phoenix on Sunday night, and it was finally coming. They gotten back on track, and then they started losing several games again, and then they finally got this one. So congratulations to them. Hey, the sports isn't all bad. The Crescent City showed up, particularly the West Bank, in the high school football playoffs. Both Landry-Walker and Karr both won their state title football games, and both head coaches and both quarterbacks are going to be joining us next. I don't do a whole lot of high school, but I've got to celebrate this. They're coming up. And 2 personalities that we know very well in this town. Gerry V, that's right, Gerry Valancourt, the former Hornets announcer, and now he has his own talk show. And Jennifer Hale, NFL Fox Sunday football broadcaster, sideline reporter, and she's also the Pelican sideline girl. She's coming up next, along with all the other great guests right here on Primetime Sports. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Primetime Sports. That was the big funky sounds of Big Sam from Big Sam's Funky Nation. Hey, I told you today's show is going to be a little different. We don't go into the high school ranks very often. We have all the current and former Saints players, LSU, Tulane, Pelicans across the board. But I got to tell you, I have a strong love for high school sports. And today we have something that's never happened before. the state champions in both 5A and 4A from the New Orleans area. Algiers is on fire because they both come from the West Bank, and they both did it back-to-back games on Saturday night. First, it was Edna Karr. They won their game against their nemesis, Neville. And next, well, it was the Landry-Walker Charging Buccaneers. Hey, they got it done against a very, very tough, perennial tough West Monroe team up there from the Monroe area. But hey, listen, we've got both head coaches and both quarterbacks on this show. Also, Gerry V and Jen Hale will be on later, but I can't wait to talk to them. Hey, head coach Emmanuel Powell, I called his game a few years ago, back when his quarterback was just a sophomore. And guess what? These guys have been averaging 10 to 12 wins a season, getting to the quarters, the semis, and now they got it done in the finals in the Dome. His quarterback, Keaton Thompson, well, he is the Louisiana Gatorade Player of the Year. That is a prestigious honor. The likes of Peyton Manning have won before. Hey, 72 total touchdowns, 46 in the air, 26 on the ground, and well over 5,000 total yards. This guy's going to Mississippi State, and he gets it done, and I cannot wait. Right here, there they are. Emmanuel Powell, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you.
Keaton, good to see you, man. You have grown since I last saw you. I called you game back in 2014. I guess you were a sophomore. I'll get into more of that, but hey, Coach, I got to ask you the question. You've been close to the mountaintop. You got there. How sweet is this?
It's awesome. It's just unbelievable. We're still riding the high right now. It's outstanding for Landry-Walker, outstanding for LJ. It's just outstanding.
I mean, listen, first of all, these teams from Monroe are tough. This is not no slouches. They always seem to be, and particularly Neville lately, but West Monroe has been a long, big-time powerhouse. Going into this game, what were your thoughts and what was your strategy?
Well, our strategy was just to use our quickness. We just didn't want to get away from a true form of who we were and who we are. And, we just about speed, and we about, being well coached and, coming out and play each and every day.
What I love about this, Coach told me that before, hey, as you put Karr and Walker together, their student bodies don't even get to where John Arrett is. So you knocked out John Arrett earlier in the season, kind of the big boy on the West Bank.
Yes.
How'd that feel?
Outstanding. We look forward to playing John Arrett each and every year because, it's always about just trying to see who's the best on the West Bank. And, every year is always a challenge. And, for the last 2 years, we've been able to beat them. They do an outstanding job there. So, it's always great to go out and play John Arrett.
Well, Coach, I remember you being interviewed at halftime of our game, and you're always gregarious. You always have something to say. Hey, you know what? Some coaches, they just don't want to talk to anybody when times are tough. Yes. But you've always been open. I appreciate that about you.
Thank you, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. Hey, things get a little bit easier when you have a guy like this sitting next to you. About 6'4". He's going to Mississippi State. He's been quarterbacking for 4 years, full-time for sure for the last 2.
Yes.
Played a lot in those other years, but talk about what he brings to your program and what he's going to bring to the SEC.
Well, one of the things I always say is that kid like Keaton Thompson doesn't come along, but every 10 or 12 years he's been outstanding for us. He's matured over time for us, and he continues to get better each and every year. And, Mississippi State is going to get a great kid, a great athlete, but most of all, a great person.
What's he do on the football field that makes him special?
He's the coach on the field. He's the leader. He's our undeniable leader on the field and off the field.
He said players like you don't come around but every 10 to 12 years. You prefer to say maybe once in a lifetime, Coach. but the fact is, you're a great football player. I noticed it. I said this when you were playing. I said, man, this guy, Marlon, who was my co-host on Calling the Game, I said, he reminds me of a young Jameis Winston. And this was just when you were a sophomore. When you hear comparisons like that, what do you think?
Man, well, I'm just thankful, to be mentioned in same sentence with some of the guys that I'm compared to. I've heard comparisons of me and Ryan Perrilloux and things like that, just other great quarterbacks. And, I'm just thankful and I'm very blessed.
You go into the championship game, okay? Obviously, you're a senior. You know this is your last game. You have any inkling that you're about to put up over 300 yards passing, over 100 rushing, 6 total touchdowns in the championship game? This is a dream. This is like a movie. Yeah.
Well, I've been trying to be consistent this year, and that's what we've been doing. And I've had quite a few games like that. I was averaging about 5 or 6 touchdowns and that amount of yards. And I just wanted to, keep it going in the championship, and that's what I did. When
you chose State, because I know a lot of schools were looking at you, including locally LSU, but having a guy with the success of a Dak Prescott, did that influence you at all, saying, hey, man, look what this guy's doing? And I think you committed probably before his success in the NFL, but I mean, he's kind of paved the way for guys like this at Mississippi State.
Yes, it definitely helped, and the Coach Muller and Coach Bryant's track record with quarterbacks that they've had and quarterbacks that they've developed, it just meant a lot to me. And also, I have a great relationship with those guys, off the football field and away from football. I just have a good relationship and I feel comfortable with them.
Do you know the quarterback, Nick Fitzgerald, who's there now? Because he's a good friend of mine's nephew. This guy played for Georgia. And I mean, some of the numbers he's been putting up in the last few games are eye-popping.
Right.
Like literally 258 yards rushing the other day to combine with a couple hundred passing. What do you think about competition going in?
Oh, well, you have to compete anywhere you go, and we have a good relationship as well, a friendly competition. But, we're going to go at each other, and, the best man wins the job. But either way, we'll support each other. All
right, so tell me about growing up and playing football. When did you get your inkling that you wanted to do this full-time? And also, who were some of those players you looked at when you were a young kid? And you say, man, I really like his game. Doesn't have to be a quarterback, but just some of the guys you emulated.
Well, when I was younger, I kind of emulated Ray Lewis when I played park ball, and also Michael Vick. I watched those guys growing up, and I just wanted to be like them. And I was a basketball player also, and I played. This last year was my
state champion as well, right?
Yeah,
two state champions, and who gets this? Who gets two state champions in basketball and one in football?
Yeah, well, it's been fun, and last year that was my last season playing basketball. I'll be leaving in January, so I won't be able to play this year. But I made my decision last year to make sure that I just take football all the way and let basketball go. But I have love for both sports.
But you can always play intramurals at Mississippi State. Early enrollee, that's what that means. Leaving in January means he's going to miss his second half of his senior year, the prom and basketball season and all that. But it gives him a head start going into the next season because he gets to go to spring practice. And a lot of great players do that, and he is one. Yes. Coach, what you going to do post Keaton Thompson? What you got? Do you have another crop coming right through here?
I have a good crop coming in, but I bring 15 starters back from this team right here. So, I'm blessed to have that. Excuse me. So I'm excited about next year. The cover is not bare. We can never replace Keaton Thompson. We know that. But we have some other good kids that's coming in, and we have a good sophomore quarterback that's doing extremely well right now.
All right, I forgot to say this point. This team also scored at least 50 points in each playoff game. Who does that? Even Karr, who I think scored average over 50 during the season, there was a couple of games they didn't get to 50, but this team did it. How'd you manage that?
I'll be honest with you. Outstanding coaching. We have a really good coaching staff that sometimes get overlooked. But we also, the kids are really dialed in, and they listen to what the coaches asked them to do, and they went out and executed.
All right, next step for you. You got any idea what you're going to major in? I mean, I'm curious of the backstory besides just the football. What are your studies going to be? And if football doesn't pan out for the future, which we all hope and think it will, what are you going to fall back on?
I was picking between architecture and civil engineering right now, and I'm just, trying to figure out which one I want to do.
I mean, and he's smart too. Yes. Architecture and civil engineering. All right, I got to tell you this. You've coached Keaton now for 4 years.
Yes.
Kind of give us the maturation process from when he was a young, probably a gangly freshman to where he is now, all the way through.
Well, I feel like I'm kind of like his second father. I've had him that long, 4 or 5 years prior to him becoming the Keaton Thompson that everybody else knows. He was just a wide open kid, a nose just kind of, just like any other normal 8th grader. And then we got him 9th grade, and he came along, true freshman out there playing a couple of downs for us, did outstanding for us. And then as a sophomore, he matured. And now he's matured into this young man that you see here today.
A fine young man, by the way. Hey, as far as the Charging Buccaneers, that is an unusual nickname. Landry and Walker combined 4 years ago. Okay, Perry Walker and Landry, and they became one school. And what were the nicknames of the schools before? And talk about the genesis of Charging Buccaneers, because we have the logo, and I love this, by the way. But tell us about that.
Well, initially it was Perry Walker Chargers, and then LB Landry Buccaneers. So all we did was combine the names together and just made them Charging Bucks.
Who made this great logo right here?
The kids, actually. The kids came up with the logo. When we combined schools, they came up with the logo. Matter of fact, they came up with pretty much the school colors. We wanted to combine Landry-Walker colors together.
Peyton Manning, they've been great. Joe McKnight, the Gatorade Player of the Year. That is the top player in the state of Louisiana. You obviously had Player of the Week several times, Times Picayune and all that. What does this mean to you? I mean, this is a huge honor. This isn't just New Orleans. This is in the state. They're saying you're the best player in the state.
It means a lot to me, and just, all the hard work in the off season and for 4 years, just constantly working hard and trying to get better to get to this point, To see it finally pay off, it means a lot to me, and all glory be to God, I'm just thankful and really blessed.
Talented, smart, and spiritual. You got to love the combination. You won the state title. Ask him. Tell me what it felt like to win this thing. I mean, what was that exultation when you finally got it done?
Oh, when we finally won and the time hit zero, it was just a big relief,
Like that picture right there, you had your arms up in the air. I mean, what was that feeling like? Right there.
Like I said, it was amazing, I just was really relieved, back when I was in 8th grade and I made my decision to go to Landry-Walker. Coach Powell told me, he was like, you go give me a championship, right? And I was like, yeah, Coach, I promise. And that just been in my head for all 4 of these years, and to finally get it done, it's just a big relief. There's
a great restaurant that was opened in Metairie, and it's called Legacy Kitchen. Then it opened on the CBD, not CBD. They're opening one in CBD, but it was in the Warehouse District. But now they just opened one literally on the West Bank, and I think it's in the Gretna area. But it's called Legacy Kitchen Steakhouse. This is a new thing. So I want to give you this. I don't want to get in trouble with violations, so I can't give you this, but I will let you sign the ball because I don't know what the rules are. So I thought of it, me handing you something like this, it'd be like, did this guy go to Mississippi State? So we're both going to sign the ball, this traditional ball. Ricky Jackson, obviously Deuce McAllister, Willie Rofe, and your names are going to be on it as well with all these great former Saints and different athletes across the local area. So Keaton Thompson, Emmanuel Powell, congratulations to them both. They are on a circuit right now running around, and I'm very fortunate to get them on the show, and I do appreciate them taking the time to come. Hey, we're not done with that yet. Just as big and just as good, we got Bryce Brown, the head coach for Edna Karr, and also have his quarterback, Alden Clark, coming up next right here on Prime Time Sports. Welcome back, Crescent City, and that, once again, is the sweet sounds of Big Sam from Big Sam's Funky Nation. Hey, like I said, I don't have a lot of high school players and coaches on normally, but I couldn't wait for this week after watching on Saturday night. First, it was Edna Karr winning the championship, and you just saw Keaton Thompson and, of course, Coach Emmanuel Powell from Landry-Walker, their first state title ever. Well, this isn't the first for Karr. Coach Bryce Brown has now got his second title, and they've been in the finals 6 of the past 7 years, and several of those have been playing against Neville, who they beat on Saturday night. That has been a nemesis for them, but they are a great team. Both schools came and brought it, but I got to tell you, the quarterback, Alden Clark, he accounted for 5,000 yards this season. Hey, you put him and Keaton's stats together, you're talking about nearly 12,000 yards. You're talking about 120-something touchdowns. That's impressive. But I told you Thompson was the Gatorade Player of the Year for Louisiana. Well, if there's a runner-up, my vote would go to right here, this next guy, Alden Clark. But let's start with the head coach. Congratulations, Coach Brown. How you doing?
Thanks for having me.
Well, the first thing I got to say, when you're going into this game, and, the team that beat you last year, it's rare that you get rematches, but it seems like in 4A, we get a lot of them these days. But what was your thought going into the game, and what was your game plan?
We talked about all week about ignoring the noise, going against Neville for the fourth time in 5 years. So, just playing a good Neville team and staying focused on about the things that we do well and focus on the task at hand. Not really worrying about revenge, but more redemption.
I don't want to say which was your favorite because I hate when people ask that because the first is always so sweet. Mm-hmm. I guess the better question on this state championship, What was the biggest difference to you when you got this one?
I think it was more about the kids in this one. When we won in 2012, it was everybody just going crazy. It was the first time we had won a state title since 1993. But this one was special because the kids, they worked so hard, the coaches, they worked so hard to achieve this goal. So, all of them are special. Hopefully we could get another one next year.
Well, you got a special guy sitting next to you, obviously quarterback Alden Clark. Going to Arkansas State. We had Keaton Thompson. He's going to Mississippi State. I saw them greet in the parking lot, so you're all obviously close friends. But talk about what you have here in Mr. Clark as your quarterback.
When you're running a good program like Edna Karr, it starts with leaders, and that's exactly what Alden has been. His second year as a captain, third starting year as the starting quarterback at Edna Karr High School, which comes with a lot. It's a big package, but he had the shoulders to tote those packages. So, just everything that we do offensively, it starts with him. Everything we did off the field, he being a spokesman for the program, he's done an exceptional job.
3-year starter, as he just mentioned. You finally got over hump this year. It's your senior year. Yeah. It doesn't get any sweeter than this.
I mean, it doesn't. Just going through the tough times. With your brothers every day. We've been working for this since January, and throughout the spring, Coach told us about staying consistent. And if you want to host that trophy in the end, you have to put in the work, and you gotta suffer through the blood, sweat, and tears. And we just came through with it.
Well, listen, not everybody gets a chance to get redemption against the team that beat them the year before. You went against Neville. I mean, they have a bunch of tough kids. I mean, they've been tough since my high school days, and they still seem to be the same type program. What's it like going back and playing the same team and getting a chance to beat them and getting it done?
I mean, the first time we lost to them was in the quarterfinals in 2014. And, that was really heartbroken. I knew I had some years to go, so I worked hard every year. Each day I got better and better. And, last year, we fell short. We came, and we had a slow start that season. But, this season, we came out, and we knew that we were just going to host that trophy in the end. So we just had to keep, just like Coach Bryce Brown told us, stay consistent and, just keep our heads on straight and keep clear eyes on the prize. So.
Well, I just showed a picture, my producer did, of them winning in 2014 and 2015. That's the other thing. You're going against a team with a win streak in the 30s and two-time defending champion. Your thoughts going in, was there any seed of doubt, like saying this is going to be tough, this team isn't used to losing at all?
I mean, it wasn't doubt. We just knew that it wasn't going to be an easy game. We came in real confident. We had the game plan for it, and coaches put us in the right position to make the play. So.
I've been looking at Karr. I like going through pictures, and I do it all the time, and I'll just hit like Karr, and I'll put images, and then I'll put football images. And I've been doing this pretty much for the last few weeks, just thinking that if y'all won, I definitely wanted to bring you on. But one thing I noticed, y'all do that little, like, before the game, the little sway, you get down close to, that right there. Give me the genesis of this, and because I think it's cool. Yeah. And I've been to one of your games, I've seen you do it.
It's something that we started in 2010, the first year we went back to the state championship when Tonka George was the quarterback, and we've been doing it ever since it started. When we started playing, we played Destrehan was the first time we ever rocked out, and we've been doing it every game ever since. So, the kids get real excited, the fans get real excited every time they hear that song and the kids into the stadium.
Bryce Brown, the head coach, he's incredible record at Karr. Every year, like I said, they seem to be in the finals, but you've had a lot of great players, a lot of players that play on the next level. When did you realize that Alden was going to be one of those guys?
If you go back to his sophomore year, he had a real tough year that year. We still went to the quarterfinals. We lost to Neville, but
let me stop. A tough year, but you still went to the quarterfinals of the playoffs. Some teams like, if I even get to the playoffs, but it's a tough year for Karr.
Because when he was the quarterback his sophomore year, we had a streak going to 4 consecutive state championships. But he came behind some great quarterbacks and Munchalego and Tonka George and Speedino. But now he can throw his name in the hat with those same guys, if not the top guy, because he's won it. So only he and Speedy and Patrick Surtain has won the state title. So that's an accomplishment in itself.
I mean, think about this, Alden. You're talking about Patrick Surtain, huge name. Speedy Noel speaks for itself on West Bank football. You follow those guys. I mean, big steps, big shoes to fill.
Yeah, it's some huge shoes to fill, and you know, you just want to come in and, you know, just be yourself. You know, you don't want to, you know, mimic nobody, but you know, it's a good feeling to, you know, come after great players like Munchie and Patrick Surtain and Speed and all, you know. But you know, you just gotta, you know, just stay true to yourself and, you know, just keep working hard to be better than those guys were.
All right, I have a question. I did, like I said earlier, that I noticed that when we went to the parking lot, Keaton and obviously Coach Powell just finished, warm reception with y'all. What did you do after your game? Was it immediate celebration? Did y'all stick around the dome and watch to see if they could get the double Algiers? But it's very rare that one part of the town can win 2 state championships. In fact, we mentioned in the last segment that if you put your student body with the size, obviously, of Landry-Walker, you don't even become a John Ehret.
Right.
But you both got it done. Tell me what you did that night, you know, after your game.
You know, exiting the field, I think it was a special moment when we were leaving and Landry-Walker was coming in, and our guys kind of formed a tunnel for Landry-Walker to run through as they were patting him on the head and telling him, go get you a ring and finish the job. And that was a special moment for Algiers. You know, when we play each other in our community, it's a huge game. The whole Algiers is there. But for the other 364 days of the year, we're all one community. We're all one team. So it was special to watch those guys hoist that trophy in the air. So we stayed and watched them for a while, and then we went back to the school around the third quarter, and we kind of the 5A game, and we kind of celebrated and everything. And the kids, they really were excited for them to hit that Landry-Walker had beat West Monroe too. So it was a good day for the community in Algiers. I think they're still celebrating.
They have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only been 48 hours. It seems like it's been a few days now. Or actually, it's been 72. Hey, real quick, your relationship with Keaton, I noticed, like I said, the warm embrace. Talk about your friendship with him and what it means to you.
Well, I mean, we've been talking, you know, since sophomore year. And, you know, he was starting his freshman year. You know, I wasn't starting my freshman year, but, you know, we actually built that bond with each other, you know, as we started playing against each other more and more. And, you know, it just became that friendship, you know, that quarterback friendship, you know, working out with each other, you know, talking to each other from here and there.
All right, I asked him as a kid, like when you're young, I said, what players did you grow up? Not saying I wanted to be like, but just the players you liked, you wanted to emulate, and you just liked the way they played. His first one was a surprise to me. He said Ray Lewis. And then he said, well, I like Michael Vick too. Who were those guys for you?
I really look up to Cam Newton. You know, that's my favorite quarterback. You know, I look at Russell Wilson, Tom Brady. You know, I want the brain like Tom Brady, but, you know, yeah, I look up to a couple of guys, you know, but not try to mimic my game off them, you know, just take tips and, you know, try to add on.
I love that you mentioned those three because they all bring something different. You are a pro-style passer. You did rush for 800 yards, but you are a drop-back passer. You're in the pocket. You want to get it done. That's Tom Brady. Cam Newton, although he's learning the NFL, can be a little tough if you keep running. You know, he had to become a drop-back passer. What do you take from each of these guys? And Russell Wilson just does it all.
Yeah, I mean, you know. Yeah, them guys, you know, them being in the NFL, you know, the NFL is a tough job, I believe. And, you know, as you said, that Cam Newton had to learn the game, you know, as he went in. And that's just coming from my sophomore year. I had to really get a feel for the game and, you know, to really learn how to poise myself down and, you know, just let the game come to me. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, it certainly has come to you. You go into Arkansas State. Real quick, I mean, you had some great schools in there, Southern Miss, SMU, you had Louisiana Lafayette, some other great schools around. What made Arkansas State the final decision for you?
I mean, when I went up there, I just fell in love with the, you know, with the campus and, you know, with the family oriented, and it's just, I mean, I just felt it, you know, like when you go somewhere and you can really feel it, you know. So I really felt it.
I know all about Arkansas State because John Brady, the former basketball coach who just retired from Arkansas State, former LSU Final Four coach, he talked about it a lot. He's been a frequent guest on the show. So you're going into a great environment, a great place for athletics, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Seriously, man, it's going to be great. I can't give you one of these because I don't know if there's a violation of recruiting. So I don't want to get in trouble. I want to get you in trouble, but I will give it to you. I think you're good. There is a definite new Legacy Kitchen on the West Bank. It just opened. There's one, obviously, in the Warehouse District in Metairie. But enjoy it, Coach. I can't thank you enough. And I got a ball. We have a tradition that we've been doing here. I used to do this back when I had a show with LeBron James and guys like Peyton Manning. But I'm bringing it to Louisiana, and I can't wait to get you guys' names on the ball. And maybe one day this might be famous right here. Yeah. But all right, thank you so much. I do appreciate you.
Appreciate it.
And I just got word that maybe Jen Hale might not be able to get done with her Saints thing. And we have been teasing her a little bit. But no worries, because I've got a guy that can talk all day. And he's one of my favorites in town, if not my favorite, Gerry V, Gerry Villancourt. You knew him as the voice of the Hornets for many years when he first came down to the Crescent City. But boy, he has made a name for him on the talk show circuit. He is with iHeartRadio, WRNO, the Rock of New Orleans. Well, that's what it used to be when I was growing up here in New Orleans, and he is one of the best. We're going to talk some Saints. We're going to talk some Pelicans, and we're going to talk some Gerry V. All coming up next right here on Primetime Sports.
The mark of Legacy Kitchen is simple. We offer numerous dishes like chicken enchilada soup, prime filet and loaded baked potato, baby back ribs, and so much more. At Legacy Kitchen, we serve American fare, crafted cocktails, and we offer a great selection of wines by the glass. Metairie at Vetts and Martin Berman, and in the Warehouse District at Chapatulas and Girard.
I burned for health.
For never being big again.
I burned for my family.
For my 10th high school reunion.
For swimsuit season. I burned for myself.
Orange Theory Fitness. Keep burning.
Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans. Welcome back, Crescent City. And once again, thanks to Big Sam from Big Sam's Funky Nation. I appreciate him coming to give us some tunes. Hey, we went from the high school ranks. We talked to both state champions in 4A and 5A, the head coaches and the quarterbacks of both teams, both going to star on the next level in college. We're going from that to a true Renaissance man. His name is Gerry Villancourt. We know him affectionately here as Gerry V. Hey, yeah, you knew him first down here in the Crescent City when he came. And he was the TV analyst for the Charlotte Hornets / now New Orleans Hornets, which are now the New Orleans Pelicans. Hey, but he's so much more than that. He's been a TV and radio talk show host. He's, like I said, a Renaissance man. The guy is everywhere. He loves food. He loves wine. He loves having a good time. And he has some of the best opinions that you've ever heard. I got to know him when he was in Charlotte because I was producing Atlanta Hawks games. And he was one of the best at his craft, and here he is right here. Gerry V.
Scott, how are you? Thanks for having me.
It's been a long time coming. Thank you for coming, my friend.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. They say, there's a quote I heard you said, the dirtier the ankles on a waitress, the better the
ankles
chili.
on a waitress, the better the chili.
Explain, please.
I was at when I was coaching in college, we were in El Paso, Texas for a tournament, and the program director asked us, he said, do you really like Mexican food? I said, absolutely. He said, I'm going to take you to the greatest place you've ever eaten for Mexican food. So he put us in this car, and we drove what seemed forever. And we're in the middle of nowhere. And we find this place, and it only has, it didn't even have a door into it. It had like a cloth, like bamboo cloth to get in. And none of the silverware, or the bowls or dishes or anything matched, nothing. It was whatever they had. But the food was unbelievable. The floor was all beat up. The atmosphere was terrible.
I'm picturing it perfectly.
But the food was just unbelievable. So we were there talking, and it's kind of an old saying that means you don't pay for atmosphere, you pay for the quality of the food. And that was a perfect example. So the floor, it looked so beat up.
Right.
Where somebody made a comment about, boy, the waitresses around here must have dirty feet. And then bingo, that's how it got. So that's what it means. No atmosphere, it's only about the food, which I believe in.
In New Orleans, we are about the food.
Oh, yeah.
And you are a foodie. I know that about you. I mean, obviously, you're a New Yorker. They have great food up there. When you got down here, give us some of the best restaurants and the food you like the most, the type of food.
If you want to give them a free plug with
Why
it
not?
all. 14 years ago when I came down, I already had some friends, Scott, that lived here. So the first week that I get settled in, the assistant coach at the time, Brian Hill, former head coach at Orlando, who's an assistant here, we got invited to go out to dinner. So we went out to several places, and the places were so good, we would go back-to-back nights. We went to Mendina's like on a Tuesday, we'd go back on a Wednesday. We would go to a Dookie Chase one night, we'd go back the next night. So we went to 4 different places in 8 days, but we would double dip. So we would hit the place twice. I don't know why we did that.
Well, you got to see what else they have on the menu.
So
the first night was so good.
Right.
Well, I remember, here's my question for you, because Steve Martin and I used to do games together when he wasn't doing some Hornets games. He was doing
television for the Hornets in Charlotte, right?
Right, but he was also doing college games, so I got to know him. Right. And I know for a fact that when he first heard New Orleans was going to be the landing destination for the Charlotte Hornets,
right.
he wasn't particularly pleased. I want to know, when you first heard it and that you were going to be moving to New Orleans, what was your first thought?
It was the last place on planet Earth I thought I'd ever be.
Right. Seriously.
I thought it would be like going to Mars. And we didn't know where we were going to go. There was a variety of locations. And then when it was New Orleans, I flew to Denver. I had an offer to do projects, to do a show in Denver, on sports radio in Denver, do a hockey show also, and then cover the NBA for them. So I was in Denver for 5 or 6 days trying to decide. The team moves to New Orleans, so on the way from Denver back to Charlotte, I stop in New Orleans for a week. And I had already been with the team.
All right.
But I wanted to see where they were going to go. So after having spent a week here, I decided, well, I'm going to stay with my NBA job. So I stayed here in a hotel for 7 or 8 days and decided I'm going to stay here, flew back to Charlotte, get all your stuff, and I moved down here.
I know the grind of an 82-game season. It's
100 game with preseason.
Well, preseason, 100 games. I mean, you got 3-4 games a week.
Right.
Sometimes even 5. But the fact is, you also were simultaneously
doing a talk show.
I
was doing a 4-hour show every afternoon. Plus, for the first few years, I was also doing pregame, postgame for the Carolina Panthers radio network show. And what was happening is, the Panthers at the time, they would fly me in from wherever I was doing an NBA game. I would do that, then they'd fly me back out to meet the team. If there was a conflict on a Sunday, there wasn't many in the NBA. You worked it out somehow. But, it was a grind. It got so crazy. There was a local coffee company in Charlotte that put a coffee maker in my studio to make sure that I was fully caffeinated for every It was insane. I don't know how I did it. When I think back on it,
I don't know either, because I know
did
how
that over
hard
15 years.
Just to do an NBA season.
I think it permanently damaged me mentally and might have made me more creative. And you don't know how you do it, but it was totally insane, but a lot of fun.
Speaking of creative, he did allude that he was a coach at one time. He's an educator.
Mm-hmm.
He's also a guy that likes to act. He wants to be in some plays. He's doing some short film stuff right now.
Right.
But also an author. So can you that's what I mean by Renaissance man. Can you kind of fill us in on all these projects? And I hate to do broad like that.
No.
Just fill me in.
I'm flattered you asked. I'm very lucky. I started out, I was a high school coach in basketball, baseball, and a teacher. I taught psychology for 6 years to seniors. I was a high school coach and teacher. Then I went on after coaching in high school for just a few years. I was lucky enough where I was at the 5-star basketball camp that at the time was the camp in the country. And I got to know and became good friends with Rick Pitino, John Calipari, and all those people.
That's what Howard Garfinkel was running?
That's right, and they helped me get hired. And I got offered to work 3 weeks at the 5-star camp. And I always think back, I might have made the move too quick, because I went from high school, got a college interview or two, and then took a college job as with James Madison University. I always wonder if I should have stayed at the 5-star camp longer, because my network, I got involved with all those guys that They all helped each other out. It was a great fraternity. So I was at James Madison University.
Was this pre-Lefty Driesell, James Madison?
No, Lefty was, this was pre-Lefty.
Right. Yeah, because he was at Maryland, then James Madison, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
So I went to James Madison. I was at Appalachian State. I was at Davidson College. And then got into marketing in New York City, handling about 100 accounts and all the pro teams that were on the contract with the company.
Okay.
And at the time, some of the old college coaches were saying, you got to get into the media work. So Les Robinson, who was the former head coach at North Carolina State, got me an audition with a gentleman by the name of Mike Wells' producer, Bray Carey, who was running ESPN Regional. So I started being an analyst for college games while I was doing my other job, and the company loved it because it got them exposure. In doing that, time went on. I had a meeting with the ESPN guys that flew into Charlotte. We had a meeting, and they offered me a job. I was going to do 40 college games per year, the initial package, when it was all starting to evolve. A lot of people kid me and go, it might have not been Dickie V, might have been Gerry V. But anyway, True. 2 days later, after auditioning for a couple of NBA games, I got the NBA offer. So now ESPN walks in on a meeting and they go, okay, maybe you can do both. That would have been insane. So you know those plastic overlays where you write in stuff and lay it on a calendar?
Absolutely, yeah.
So they filled out my whole schedule along with the NBA schedule, and they laid it down on calendars month to month.
Oh my
and my 40 college games, 40 college games dropped to about 4. So they just folded it all up and go, you got to make a decision by the end of the week in 3 days. So I flew to Miami, did a Hornet Miami game, and then flew home and decided to go with the Hornets because I had done high school, I had done college, and I wanted to experiment the next level. And in doing that, the NCAA changed the rules where college coaches can no longer work at the 5-star camp or lecture because it was a recruiting advantage. So now that I was in the NBA, 5-star called me and named me their closing lecturer for 3 of their key sessions. So one week there is Rick Pitino was with the Knicks at the time. Right. There was Jack Ramsey, Hall of Famer, Hugh B. Brown, Hall of Famer.
Two of the greatest basketball minds
who's a Hall of Famer.
Right.
And I was doing the closing lecture at the end of the week in
Gerry
front of the
V.
greatest coaches and players in the country at the time, because they'd be 200 college coaches evaluated. So all of this started to blossom. And then there's a guy that snowed in a hotel in Charlotte who's watching me. I'm a guest on a talk show like this. He's snowed in. He can't get out of Charlotte. And he's watching the show. And he calls me the next day and he says, I'm going to start a sports talk network situation in Charlotte. Have you ever done sports talk radio? I said, no. I did an audition. So he offered me that job. And the Hornets said, fine, do the show, do the games. That started to blossom, and time goes on. We moved here from Katrina after living in Oklahoma City. I did the show there, did the games there, came here, and before we evacuated from here, I started a sports talk show here. We were on for 2.5 years. Right. We really got it going. Katrina hit, wiped it out. We moved, from there to a news anchor on the Fox 8 network.
Yep.
Back to talk radio, and then writing, and guys listening to a show one day and asked me to audition for a role as Mickey and get Bingles in a short screenplay. I got the role. We're busy doing table reads now, putting that together. So summarize all up. I don't know what the hell's going on.
So that's New York based. You obviously could play any New Yorker.
It just happens.
Right.
It just happens, and you're lucky. And it boils down to the lectures I used to do to players, Scott, and tell them, you never know when you're being evaluated. Right. You never know when you're being observed. You just never know. And I've been very lucky and very blessed that, I hope the lucky ball continues.
I have a feeling it will. And now it gets to the next thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, you have a great story to tell. When's this going to be in a novel or book or some of the things Gerry V's done in his career, because this will be a bestseller?
You mean Crooked Wisdom?
Crooked Wisdom.
Nobody's done this concept before.
All right. Bring it to me.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
My book is one-liners or closing statements, and it's got a comedic touch to it.
Okay.
You guys ready back in the studio for this? It's a book about, let's say you are laying on your deathbed. And you don't know what to say. And you want to leave everybody with a closing statement that they will never forget you.
Whoa.
My book will have all that material for you.
Well, keep going. What else?
I can't reveal what my favorite line is. I don't know if you can air it on the show, but there are some, and it's comedic in nature, some serious, some comedic, and it's called Crooked Wisdom. And there's other lines in it about philosophies and observations, because I keep journals. I have about 14 journals of lines I've created or observations. I kind of change them a little bit to fit my
How long have you been working on this project, and is there a deadline, or is this something?
No, there's no deadline. I don't believe
whenever.
in a deadline on this because I'm not a professional writer, but I show stuff to people, and I incorporate a lot of the stuff because I love public speaking, and I'm trying to get back to doing a lot of public speaking engagements like I used to. Lots of it, corporations and sales.
My question there, when you do a speech, and obviously you're very good at it, I've heard you in a couple of them, do you tailor for your audience, and how do you break your ice? I mean, what's your thing? Do you have an impression? I know you do Christopher Walken impressions. I don't want to put you on the spot, but I will.
I mean, I spoke at that high school luncheon the other day with all the high school coaches that are in the championship games, and we spoke. And you always want to break the room up a little to loosen them up with some material. I'll go from playful to seriousness to playful to random thought to very serious to playful. It's how you open and close, you know. I just enjoy it very, very much. I think the spoken word, it's like art. How you play with the words, your inflections, phonetics, pauses, delivery, voice change to the message. I think it resonates more with people. They'll remember it more. Volume, high to low. You're almost like an actor. And that's just, I've had great pride in doing that.
All right, well, people know you when you first got here, obviously, with the Hornets team, which is now the Pelicans, and I got to get into this because I know you talk a lot of non-sports stuff now. I mean, that's a big part of your show. But we're going to get into sports here. This is a sports-themed show. This Pelicans team, you've been around the NBA for a very long time, well over 2 decades before you end up leaving the Hornets telecast and broadcasting. So what's the problem here?
Number one, you're a middle-of-the-road defensive team. You're ranked about 15 or 16 in the league. Defensive efficiency, meaning the points you give up per possession per game. Number two, you don't shoot the three very well. You're in the bottom 3 in the league. If you don't shoot the 3 in the NBA, you die.
And you better
because the defenses are so well prepared and so sophisticated. You have to be able to disrupt that by make them occupying more space on the floor. And if you don't do that, it impacts your rebounding. Their offensive rebounding is bottom 2 in the league. Offensive rebounding percentage, not the overall percentage. And that's more significant because it tells you what percentage of the missed shots do you get. And I have a philosophy that games are won while the ball is in the air. What do you do with those missed shots? They're not a good offensive rebounding team. If you don't shoot the 3 well, you're not a good offensive rebounding team. And your offensive efficiency is middle of the road. Those 3 things equal a big problem. Now the problem, Scott, it's a compound problem because defensively, you're middle of the road. Your offense is below, your defense is middle of the road. Add them together, and it's where you are today.
And that's what their record is, correct?
You are what you are on pro sports. You can run and hide in any direction that you want, but you can't run away from what I call impact stats. And can you defend people? Is your defensive efficiency there? Not points per game. It's how effective are you per trip up the floor. And is your offensive efficiency there? And they're not extraordinary in either category. And they don't have the makings right now of being a playoff team because of those areas. And you have who's going to be one of the finest players you've ever seen in the NBA in Anthony Davis.
Yes.
And, you know, he's putting out so much energy.
He's very frustrated in this picture, and I think this is probably what he is right now.
Well, a still shot, you know, it doesn't tell the whole story, but this is an extraordinary young man and a talent. But I don't want to see him exhaust his legs and his body at such a young age because he's already proven he can be a little fragile because so much is dependent on him. Where does he get a night off? And when you rely on your star with that much emphasis, night in and night out, there's a wear and tear factor that comes in, and that worries me.
Is there any hope, though? Here's the thing. I'm not one of these that piles on Dell, piles on the coach, because I look at the circumstances.
Well, you're not piling on if you're using valuable, credible numbers.
Okay, but let's talk about, and I know you are, but I'm just talking about the way the team was built. There's a lot of criticism there. But I can look back to each of the deals, even going back to the trade for Drew Holiday, giving up the 2 number ones, which there wasn't a whole lot there anyway. And then, Tyreek. I can see why the decisions were made, but it's easy to go back and criticize them all afterward. But what are your thoughts about the way the team was built? Because, listen, there's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacks out there that will just
I
tell
thought
you.
in the initial stages, they duplicated a lot of skill sets at positions. There wasn't the separator or the specialty defender, the long swing player that can score and guard people getting to the rim. They duplicated a lot of the position. Now, when the skill sets are that similar and the talent level is that similar, there's no separation. There's no spurt that happens.
Right.
And they get hurt there. And then the tenacity of this club, when you watch them play, is very difficult for now. I know lately they're putting a lot of numbers on the board, and that's fun and that's entertaining, but you got to be winning games. They're lacking that game-to-game, quarter-to-quarter, possession-to-possession, efficient tenacity. See, there's a big difference in playing with a lot of energy and a lot of effort. Mm-hmm. But if you play with a lot of energy and a lot of effort and there's no result, what good is the energy and the effort? So you want those two areas to result in something, but you got to have those talent separators.
A lot of hopes coming into all the seasons here. Obviously, LSU, everybody was hoping possible national championship run. They have 4 losses. Mm-hmm. Tulane, a lot of hope early. Then they lose 6, 7 in a row, kind of wane. And then the New Orleans Saints. I'd like to get into that with you because this team had hope, but it was cautious hope, let's be honest. You came in the season, you saw, I was at training camp, I saw the defense was performing better, but until they get on the field, that margin of error because of the mistakes obviously made with the dead money, et cetera, was going to be tough. And it's biting them right now in the butt because they sometimes they look like they could be a playoff type team. Obviously, we know that's not happening this year. What went wrong?
See, that's the key phrase. Sometimes they look like they could be a playoff team.
True.
Good teams always look like they can be a playoff team. And that's been a big problem for them. The run-pass balance, efficiency in the run game isn't where it needs to be. The number of rush per game, per yards per game, isn't as healthy as you want it to be. You have a Hall of Fame quarterback. You're not winning with that. But it is what it is. Let's put it all together over the whole body of work, okay? If they don't run it out and at least make 500 and run the table, this will be the 4th year in 5 years with a losing record and no playoffs.
No playoffs.
So you look at the whole body of work, and if you put it on a graph or a chart, remove the emotions out of it and the names out of it, and I showed it to you as a stock, and I said, let's look at this trend, and I want you to put your money in it.
Yeah.
And you saw the chart go this way, your opinion would be, maybe not right now. Now, translate that to football. 4 of the last 5, that's why the fan base is upset. And then your money invested. If you're 4 of the last 5 losing non-playoff with a Hall of Fame quarterback, money extended, what does that tell you?
Isn't it amazing, though, how fans and media we're all like, what have you done for me lately?
No, I don't agree with you.
Let me just say this, so I'm not finished. For instance, everybody was all high, even though it was the Los Angeles Rams when they scored 49 points. Mm-hmm. They haven't had a passing touchdown since. They've only had 1 touchdown in the last 2 games. And it went from oh my gosh, this team really looks really good. Even the games they lost were very close at the very end. It's like they've never really been out of a game. But 2 weeks later, it's like, oh my gosh, is Drew Brees even going to be here 2 years from now? I mean, it's kind of funny.
You have to be very careful in football. They call it recency bias.
Exactly.
When you're evaluating a player and a team, you can't just hang your hat on that one bright moment, on that one game tape, if that game tape isn't duplicated in previous games and games afterwards. In other words, you can throw in a reel and say, wow, look at this team. That's a playoff team. And then you show the person you're showing the tape to previous games and games that follow that. And if there isn't that consistency, everybody, it's called, you don't fall for that hype. Recency bias, meaning don't fall just for the most recent piece of game tape. And this is where GMs make mistake on extending big contracts. Right. They might look at that past year and not look at the whole body of work. And that's the problem. Sure, they look good against the Rams. And if you show that Ram tape over and over and over again, you get excited. But you got to balance it and follow it up with what happened afterwards. And again, good teams always look like playoff teams. not just on a given Sunday.
Where
Not to quote
where
Al
does this
Pacino, by the
regime
way.
go? I mean, Peyton just signed
till 2020, right?
A large contract,
Right.
and one that goes for a few years. Where does this team go from here?
Well, it doesn't look like they're going to the playoffs again this year.
No, it's going to take a miracle. You'd have to win all your games, and everybody else
So
would have to lose
next
them all.
year, the pressure will be enormous. Do you wait until next year, or do you look at it now from a business economical standpoint and look at age, money spent, health, and results to possibly let go of key personnel to parlay it, or do you roll the dice and say, next year, it's all or nothing? Got to get into the playoffs. I mean, there's a lot to consider. The big factor on top of the whole thing is the loyalty that the front office and ownership has towards their coach and their quarterback.
And it seems to be strong.
And it's strong, and people can call it blind loyalty wherever they want. They have to make that decision. But it is what it is for the last 5. If you don't run the table, at least get to 500. But I will defend the fan. The fan has every right to be upset with what's happened over the past 4 out of 5 years.
Do you agree with their concept, though, of robbing Peter to pay Paul because of Drew? Every year it seems like, well, Drew Brees still looks pretty good. And Drew Brees still looks like he might have a couple more runs in him, so let's try to keep getting the support. You know, and we might make some mistakes in free agency, which they've made plenty. That has burned them. Now, have you agreed with it as they went along with the way they're thinking now?
Talent evaluation is huge. In the NFL, you're only as good as your second and third tier personnel. Your second and third tier personnel is developed through the draft, through free agency. And you got to have those players that can fill in, because the injury rate in the NFL is 100%, whether it's a minor or major injury. Your second and third tier personnel allows you to last. If you keep putting big money in one area and it depletes you in the other area, and you can't find those bargain deals with the cap money that's available, and that's where talent evaluation is an art form. If you're slipping there, along with draft, add all that together, and what does the formula equal? Talent evaluation is a lifesaver.
Exactly.
So,
if you were buying a stock, and we're going to wrap this up, would you buy your stock in the Pelicans or in the Saints? And I know neither of them look very prosperous at the moment, but if you had to buy one, which would it be and why?
I would tell my broker to get back to me in a few months. I would put my money in a fund or in a Roth account, and I'd let it sit there for a while.
All right. Well, I have a great gift certificate for you. A great wine bistro. I know you went to the old one on St. Charles. Yeah. This one has just opened up on Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway. Right. I just went last week with Vicki Brennan. Enjoy that.
Thank you, sir.
And we have a tradition here to sign the ball. I'm going to give you a Saints ball. I don't have a Hornets ball or anything. Sign this, Gerry V. And by the way, as you do so, I don't know if you mind, could you try to give us a Christopher Walken before we go?
I don't know. I'll sign this ball now and do it with my left hand.
Are you a lefty?
I'd write it with my foot, but my foot hurts.
Okay. Explore the space, baby.
There you go.
All right. Hey, by the way, there's so many people to thank. Hey, I have to tell you one thing. Jen Hale texted me a little before Gerry V came on and says, hey, I'm doing a Saints project. I cannot get out. She's going to come next week. But I want to thank the great high school coaches and quarterbacks that were here. That's a first for me. I don't usually do this, but I really enjoyed having Coach Emmanuel Powell and Bryce Brown, as well as their quarterbacks who are heading to the next level. Keaton Thompson will be at Mississippi State. And then Alden Clark is heading to Arkansas
and when
State.
Get Bengals comes out, go see it.
Yeah, Bengals, by the way, this guy, would you pay to see him in any play ever?
Of course they would.
Get on the play
Should see
circuit.
my outfit. You kidding?
Get into the play.
Of course they're going to pay.
And this is a short story film, correct?
Short feature, right.
Short feature film, but get on the stage as well. You'd be an actor.
I am going to do a one-man show that the screenplay guy's going to help me work on.
All right.
I already have the name for it.
What is it?
It started in Queens.
It started in Queens. That's what I was asking you for. It started in Queens. He's a New Yorker, baby, but he's down here in the Crescent City. We love him. His name is Gerry V. This has been long overdue. I'm so glad you got to know a little more about Gerry Valancourt. Hey, I got so many people to thank. My producer, William Hill. I appreciate everything you do for me, all the stuff behind the scenes. Hey, the Redhead Tsunami, Kenny Juno, Naila, Josh Smith. We have a special guest in our studio today. His name is Emil. I want to thank him and everybody else at WLAE.
And thanks for the limo service.
Absolutely.
Very nice of you.
Hey, we have limo service here. That's coming soon. Thanks, everybody. We'll be back next week. Got a big show for you. That's going to be our Christmas version on Primetime Sports.